Guys, this is Nikki Lynn with blingactions.com. Today I'm going to be showing you a little bit more about our Color Centric set. This is available for Photoshop CS2 through CS6, and I'm just going to show you some of the highlights and some of my favorite parts of the action today. Please check out our YouTube channel at some of the previous videos that I've posted, because I just posted one that also does a review of part of this action set, but also discusses what's included in our editing classes. I do offer online editing classes. They're taught very similar to how you would watch this video, except you'll be watching me live. We would be able to have a conversation either through your headset and mic, or you would be able to chat via a message box that would pop up in the program. But the online classes are really fun, and they're very similar just to this. You have options for group classes, which I limit to 5 people, or you have options for a private class, which would just be the 2 of us. And you would actually be able to learn everything inside of Photoshop. I offer level 1 and level 2 for both Photoshop and for Elements. The beginner classes basically will go down through all of the essential tools that you'll need to use, and we spend a ton of time over here inside of the Layers palette. We'll learn about the history box, but inside the Layers palette we'll really discuss in detail a lot of all of these tools. You'll also learn about actions, how to load them, how to use them, how to benefit from them, how to use masking, and all of that information. The classes are really amazing and very essential to learning how to edit efficiently. You'll notice when I teach these sort of instructional videos, and then when we're also in a class together, I'm a very visual learner myself. I grew up with learning disabilities and had problems with being able to actually have things sort of soak and sink into my brain. And I think a lot of photographers tend to be very visual learners. So every step of the class, you're basically handheld, and every aspect that I introduce is very clearly explained. It's done very slowly. You'll have time to take notes, and you'll also be able to ask questions as we go, and then you always have follow-up help via email support or inside of the Bling Academy group. So it's a really wonderful way for you to be able to learn how to actually take advantage of Photoshop and Elements and what they have to offer. So now I'm just going to go right ahead in, and I am going to show you how I would edit this image inside of the new Color Centric action set. This image was submitted by Jessica Green of Loving Life Visions, and you'll see here I have the action set already loaded. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play the mini makeover, because I just want to add a little bit of lightness. I just want to add a little bit of lightness in through her face area here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the mini makeover action. The mini makeover action basically will take your image to a place where it's ready for other actions to run on it. Although I do offer a lot of other action sets which are designed to basically click, edit, and totally fix everything, because this is a color centric and it's more of a classic film sort of look. We want to start adding the extra images, or extra actions, sorry, on top of an already correctly exposed image. So basically what I've done so far, you can see I just played the mini makeover, and all that we've done so far is just add a little bit of lightness in through here. You can see in the Layers palette that all I'm going to do is go ahead and increase the brightness just a little bit more throughout the middle of the image, through her face specifically, probably to about a 50%. And then I'm not really going to touch anything else in here, but if you had an image that was a little bit overexposed, or if you had areas where you wanted to sort of give some hair highlights or add on some extra contrast or what have you, this would be the place where you would do this, and you would do this before you ran the other actions. It's not always necessary in every image, but on this one it was. So I went ahead and played that, and the next thing that I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to play, you have lots of different choices in here, but I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to play the Marilyn M from the set. You'll see once it's played, this has added a nice sort of a vintagey feel to it. We have a overall folder option here where we can control the opacity of that just by clicking on the folder. So I can increase the effect or I can decrease the effect. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to leave it at about a 73%. And then what I'm going to do though is decrease part of the cotton candy, and I'm going to decrease part of the warmth. And I'm not really liking some of the redness that's in through her eyes. So the best thing to do to figure out what's causing this is you can actually click layers off and on to determine which one you think is causing the effect that you're really not happy with. A quick way to do this is just to hold down on your mouse and click all of these off by just dragging as you click, and that will take them all off. And then what you can do is just turn them on one layer at a time. You can sort of see the action being built as you go. And then what will happen is when I get to the action that's causing that little bit of redness on the face, I can just take that off. And it was caused by the brightness and contrast. So what I'm going to do actually now is I'm just going to go ahead and paint right on the eye and just take that off. Just that one spot in the actual eye. And I'm taking it off at 100% here. All right, and then what I can do is increase this a little bit now if I'd like to on the rest of the picture. And I'm pretty happy with the way that the rest of that looks there. So I'm just going to go ahead and flatten this image. And then you can go ahead and you can see from once the image is flattened, we'll go ahead and see in our history palette, this is when we first did it, and then this was after we added the Color Centric. Which one did we add again? We added the Marilyn M. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this back to the history panel again, all the way back to the beginning. So this is the original raw file. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and play Jackie O. And I'm going to do this on the totally flattened raw image. I'm not going to add the mini makeover first. And you can see here again, we have the whole action being run here. And then if I click on the little folder, we can see all these different options that we have here. We have our retone option, which I'm sort of going to, I think I'm going to turn that all the way up to only about 2%. We have our increase for contrast again, and I'm just going to only put that at about 17% this time. The matte film, I'm actually going to increase just a little bit because I want sort of an older style feel. Our make a statement, I think I will actually leave that at 100%. I like that. We have our retro base, I'm going to leave that, and we have our eye sparkle. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to leave that as well. Now what I'm going to do with the retone is I'm actually going to turn this up, but I don't want the effect obviously out all over the picture, so I'm going to brush this off her face. So I'm just going to choose a black brush, and I'm going to increase the size here, and I'm just going to take that off at about a 70% just off her face here. And I'll just take it off a little bit here on her boot area too as well. And then I'm going to lower the opacity even more, like at about a 27%, and then just take it a little bit just off of here in her skin tones. And then I'm going to go ahead and flatten that. And then you can see, again, this was the Jackie O that we played. And we can see in our history this was the before and this is the after of the Jackie O. So that's just a little bit of what our Color Centric offers. You will also notice that we have options in here for some black and white. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to play the black and white wall tires on top of this already edited image. However, I've already flattened it. You do want to make sure before you play different actions on it that you go ahead and flatten in between. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this, and you'll see here that this has actually overblown a lot of our dark shadows. So what I am going to do is actually pull this down. You can see that it's defaulted to about 70%, which is increase our contrast and our dark tones, but I can pull it all the way down here so I have the control over the extent of the black and white. You can see as I change this, it's going to change tones. Depending on the type of original image that you're working with, this will give you quite a bit of control over what you're doing. And then our black and white base. If you wanted to go for sort of like an old world feel, sort of a little bit hand colored, you could do pull this down. I don't really like that effect so much myself, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave the top layer for the white wall tires. I'll leave it at about 13%. I think that looks good. And again, you'll see that this was our original image, and then this is our, after we've added the black and white with the Jackie O on top of that. So that's our basic highlights for this action set. There's a lot more to offer in here. You have some grain options where you can add some grain, and you have your Coded Chromatic where you can add this as a great add-on over top of the other images. Each different action inside this set will give you different effects, but you'll be editing and sort of playing with them the same way that I did with this one, and I really hope that you enjoy it. So that's the end of this tutorial, and I hope that you had fun.